Man, a quick heads up before you listen to this episode. It's wonderful. It's great. It's fun. I love kitchen fights and I love Michelin awards. So we had a really fun time recording this episode. I just want you to know that my audio isn't perfect. I ended up fixing it about 3/4 of the way through, so it gets better. It sounds fine. It's just not 100%. As always, Nicholas Rehack, his voice is angelic. He sounds great. It's perfect. But I think this episode's a lot of fun. I just want to give you a heads up so you just knew that my audio isn't 100%, but it sounds great. It sounds fine. I did as much as I could, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Thanks. Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who often hangs out in restaurant kitchens hoping an amazing fight will break out. It's Nick Rehack.
It's very true. And oftentimes I come home smelling like various oils that have been cooked in, and it's not great because the cat's not a fan.
One time I was in Baltimore, and you and I were going to meet up the next day, but I went to Baltimore Jimmy's Rib Shack, and just lovely rib shack. Doesn't exist, but I'm making it up. And I walked into the back and I just saw you in the kitchen, standing there,
Yeah,
just
hanging out.
eyeballing everybody with your fingers crossed,
Mm-hmm.
hoping like a
Silently.
Tenet-esque kitchen fight would break out.
Yeah. And every so often when guys would start arguing, is this going to happen? Is this it? I get a little sweaty. And I'm like, is it the humidity from the kitchen in general, or am I getting excited? Then it dissipates, and I'm like, well, this is for nothing.
Yeah, I spent my entire lunch break in the kitchen waiting for a fight to happen.
Yeah, nothing. Then I got to go
Nothing.
back to work all dejected. Like, I don't want to do that.
For those of you who listen to MFF for a while, you know that Nick and I love talking about bathroom fights. One of our first episodes ever was an entire bathroom fight draft. And one day we were just chatting about kitchen fights, and you brought up, "Hey, I wonder if they're Michelin Star worthy. Like, what's a great kitchen fight?" So I was like, "Okay, this has to become a podcast series where I bring Nick in, we watch a kitchen fight, and we wonder if it is Michelin Star worthy." And in case you're wondering what a Michelin Star is, I'm just going to read this to you right now. A Michelin Star is awarded to restaurants offering outstanding cooking. We take into account 5 universal criteria: the quality of the ingredients, the harmony of flavors, the mastery of techniques, the personality of the chef as expressed through their cuisine, and just as importantly, consistency, both across the entire menu and over time. Now, across the United States, across the world. So according to statistics, there are somewhere between 15 million and 23 million restaurants in existence on Earth right now. And as of 2024, 3,300 Michelin stars have been spread across the world. So it's quite elite when you take into account, let's say 15 million minimum, 3,300 stars. So it's rare that a restaurant will ever achieve a Michelin star or 2 Michelin stars or 3 Michelin stars or be
That's
awarded
insane.
multiple times. So that's why, Nick, you and I are going to watch these, and we're going to be strict. We're going to go full Ratatouille, and we're going to sit down, hopefully not anything that reminds us of our childhood. And we're going to, we watch these fights. We broke down the criteria. I listened to all the commentaries, all the interviews. I practiced it in the kitchen with my cats, just recreated it, did all the previs like the directors, and just ready to go for this. So you and I are going to figure out if the kitchen fight in the Raid 2 is Michelin Star worthy. How you feeling?
I'm feeling very, very excited. I rewatched the film and really got into the kitchen fight. And I'll tell you what, this movie's good. This movie's really, really good, dude. And off mic, I sent you a picture. I think yesterday, the day before, of a ticket stub of my ticket stub from going to the theaters and seeing this. And it's a film that I can't believe that I got to see in theaters, let alone a major chain theater, because this is not your run of the mill film. It's completely, it's a foreign language film to begin with. It's 2.5 hours. You don't get a lot of action films that are 2.5 hours long, and it soars. It's from start to finish. We're not stopping, even during conversations and plots. We're still moving. Like, there's no lulls, there's no dull moments. We're just gone.
It's gorgeous. And we were also talking about this where My four favorite action films released since 2010 are The Raid 2, The Night Comes for Us, and 13 Assassins. The
Mhm.
Raid and Raid 2 are my two favorite by far. Gareth Evans is just incredible, and the cinematography by Matt Flannery, and just the fight choreography, and just everything about these movies is gorgeous. And what's interesting, he had another script called Brando, and he couldn't get that made, so he made The Raid. And then he's like, okay, well, I want to go back to the script. Let's just make The Raid 2 and let's put Rama undercover and have his brother be killed. And then this kicks off a 2.5 hour epic of crime and fights. And I mean, they talk about this movie being one step at a time as a criminal. And I think this movie moves ahead one fight scene at a time. And there's a lot of them, and they're all great, and they're never exhausting. And they build to one of my favorite fights of all time, with probably one of my favorite moments ever in a fight.
And not only that, the fights mean something.
Yeah.
It's not just fighting to fight, and it's not just fighting for survival, although all of them are fights for survival. There's something more there. It's a stepping stone. It is a defense. It is escape. It's all of these different elements that they put together, and no two fights are the same. You might see some repeated blocks. You might see a couple rolls, but everything is still different. Even the car chase fight sequence, like that, probably hands down, and I'm going to say it, and I'm going to stand by it till I die, the greatest car chase sequence ever put to film, ever captured digitally in any medium whatsoever. It's the Raid 2. Like, it is absolutely incredible. And if you're putting that much thought into your car chase sequence instead of just the usual, the car comes speeding through and the camera comes booming around it and it's zipping back and forth, it's more than that. It's art, it's a song, it's poetry in motion. Like, it is these beautiful, very technical, highly choreographed things, and it's nothing but payoff after payoff after payoff. You never leave a fight going, I kind of wanted more out of that.
And it's gorgeous, right? And I love what you talked about too. This movie's so great. I read about the red cameras that they use for this. So
Mm-hmm.
they used a red Scarlet, and I looked up the weight, and they said that they're about 3.5 pounds, and they put them on this
What?
steering wheel rig. And I learned about how they did the car scene where they hand the camera through.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
Gareth
dude.
Evans and his crew, they're insane. And just learning about how they did that practically. And when we're talking about the Raid 2, this kitchen fight, they used condoms full of blood so that they could pull on them with a knife and some fishing line to create the squibs. So even if it was augmented with some VFX, there is the blood there. Like, this is such a gnarly, beautiful, gorgeous film, and no one phoned it in. I mean, they worked tirelessly on this. Like 18-hour days, 18-hour days. Yeah, 18-hour days, 19-hour days. I mean, they just worked so hard. And you know what's kind of crazy? When you and I first started potting, I was like, hey, let's talk about the Purple Rain soundtrack and do a draft. I was like, that'll be easy. But then I learned it's one of the greatest soundtracks. Well, I knew it was, but I learned about it, and every song has like a documentary about it. And I learned it was like some of the most intensive research I've ever done. So this Raid 2 fight is the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I love more about it, and I know everything about it now, and I just absolutely adore it. And it's cool when there's great art, I want to understand it, and when there's a great kitchen fight, I want to like learn more about it. And these people who go around for Michelin, they want to know about the food, they want to know about the consistency. So I'm not saying I have a great food palette, but I do have a good kitchen fight palette because I know what it takes to make a great
Mm-hmm.
one. I have a kitchen fight palette.
Yeah. I mean, it's something, it's one of those things that everybody has. They just don't know they have it until they've had the best. And then they're like, oh, this is what it's, okay. And then they start to look at other ones and they do a little compare contrast as you will. But of course, everything's going to be different, right? You can't have a foreign film fight sequence is not going to be the same as a Chris Nolan fight sequence,
Yeah.
which is not going to be the same as a Fast and the Furious fight sequence. So everything is different. Everything's exciting. But to start off with this film, I mean, I think we're coming out swinging, or in
Yeah.
this case, we're cooking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're cooking. We're bringing it. So do you want to start with using quality products? That's
Yeah,
the first thing.
absolutely.
So in the day of using quality products, and that's the kind of first thing that the Michelin Guide gives us. So if we're talking about that, I mean, Nick, do you want to get us started? Like, what are some of the quality products? Do they use first question? Do they use quality products in this fight?
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah,
All right,
it's
on to the next one.
yeah. Well, okay, so like you have
But
you have Chechep in there who this
yeah.
that's I listened to the commentary and that's the way that Gareth pronounced his name. Like this is a guy who knows Salat from way back. They wanted him to get him in the Morantau, the raid. Like they wanted to get him in the early films.
Mm,
So they brought him into this film to be the assassin. I mean, this guy is just an absolute all timer, and it's
cold-blooded.
just like the way that he is just hurts people is just absolutely gorgeous. And knowing that he's the assassin, and like also you need somebody really tough to beat up Yanya. Like you can't just bring in anybody. Like you had to bring in Dwayne Johnson to beat up Vin Diesel in the
Mhm.
Fast and Furious franchise. You can't just bring in Hank to take out Mad Dog.
Right.
You like you got to bring in the best of the best. And like let me read something to you how we got there. It's like these are our appetizers before we started our meal. There's a bathroom fight, a mud fight, a porn studio warehouse fight. There's a machete man and street fight. There's a club fight. There's Yayan versus Chichip. There's the baseball bat and hammer man. Like they're fighting in the train in the street. There is the assassin also kills someone in the field. There's a car chase. There's a restaurant fight. There's another car chase. There's a warehouse fight. There's a hall fight, and then there's a kitchen fight followed by a restaurant
Yeah.
fight.
Yeah.
But there's like by this point in this kitchen fight, you should be exhausted. You should be
Hmm.
tired. But when these two square up together, Iko and Chechup, or Rama or the assassin, it's just gorgeous. It is a gorgeous opening shot. The cinematography is amazing. Even the kitchen floor is gorgeous.
It's so, you know why? Because everything else, they don't do a washout kind of thing in the film, but it's a little more saturated than normal. But it works for the film. When you get here, everything is clean and pristine and spotless. It's sparkling. And when as soon as they walk in, there's this immediate energy because he's there waiting for him. He's like, "Okay, you got here, ready to do this." But they don't talk. All of it is said with their eyes. Even the kitchen staff's like, "Yeah, we should get out of here." Collectively, everyone's like, "No, we got to go," right? And the way they square up, I still remember seeing the trailer for it, and that moment where they're just kind of squaring up. I'm like, "This is it." Like this is it's a respect thing that starts out, and then they just do a little back and forth, some tapas, right? Small plates. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I can do. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I can do, and just from the assassin, just a hint of what's the word I'm looking for?
Like he's kind of
A,
not smug. He has that
yes,
smile on his face. There's
exactly.
a
And the little
confidence
hand
to him.
twirl. He's winking at him. Right? It's not egregious. He's not saying something or doing the whole like that or dusting his shoulders off. He's just like, "Oh, okay, you ready for this?" Off they go.
Off they go. And the kitchen layout that we have, they built a big kitchen. And what I like that Gareth Evans says, it's a giant kitchen because of that, but because of the knife work that they have to do in it,
Mm,
they close in with handheld camera work, and a large, expansive kitchen feels almost claustrophobic because you have to get in close with that knife.
it does. Yeah.
And like, I love the island in the middle of it. I mean, we talk about other kitchen fights. If you think about Gremlins, if you think about Spy, a lot more frying pans, food,
Hmm.
blenders are used. This isn't. But I guess if we're looking at this in context, these two dudes, Rama and the assassin, are not going to hit each other with frying pans. Like
No.
they're gonna hand to hand
Yes.
fight.
Yeah.
So the quality products, they thought that through, and also it's a very clean kitchen because they're in a very like a crime lord's kitchen. You're not
Hmm.
going to be a messy kitchen.
Mm-mm.
So it's
No,
a good
not at
looking
all.
kitchen. The white floor provides beautiful a backdrop for the blood. The squishy sound effects are great. I love that they bang them off the metal island. The great sound effects that are there. But yeah, I think with all the quality products, there's 3 stars you can give. Restaurants can get up to 3 stars, one, two, or
Hmm.
three. How many stars would you give this for like using quality products?
For using quality products, my heart wants to say three, but it kind of stops at a two. And I'm torn about that because as they go through the fight, we do get a couple things, right? We get some head bonks from bins because they're either thrown into a shelf or in one case, the assassin whips one at him, right? We do get a bottle smash. Nothing egregious, just one quick pop over the head. Looks like some kind of soda or some kind of lemon lime juice thing. They smash into the wine area, break a couple bottles, then a couple more bonks on the head, and then we pull the knives out, right? They're not, like you said, they're not throwing fire pans. We're not using woks. We're not burning faces on stovetops. We're not burning hands on stovetops. They don't use any of the food. They don't
Mm-mm.
touch the peppers. They don't touch the lettuce. They don't do any of that stuff. And while I want to see that happen, For a film like this, I don't want to see it happen because I don't want to all of a sudden like, oh, this is cheesy and cartoonish. No, this is very serious for both of these guys. The biggest stakes outside of life and death, the biggest stakes are at hand right now, and they're not messing around with bell peppers. They're
Or
not messing around with
steaks.
chilies or even steaks. Yeah, they're not even no. The only meat they're throwing around these fists. That's it. They're turning each other's faces into hamburger meat, really. But they focus on their hands, they focus on their abilities, and they let the ability speak for themselves. It's almost like a Euro Dreams of Sushi, right? Just a simple sushi roll and rice, and there you go. It's the presentation. If he sees you're eating dominant with your left hand, he's going to turn it so you get a better bite when you pick it up with your left hand, and that whole thing. And that's all they do here.
So you're going two.
I would go two. I would go two.
My biggest thing is I do love when a kitchen is used. So sudden death, the kitchen is a character.
Yeah.
This one, this could take place anywhere. Now it does make sense that he goes through the back. So he goes through the hallway, then he goes through the kitchen because kitchen's traditionally in the back. So it's in good placement for where that is. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only knock I could give this is it could take place anywhere. And
That's true.
there is some good kitchen work, but these guys are not about hitting each other with plates, right? They're not gonna put each other's face in oil. Like
Right.
they're gonna pull knives and really murder each other. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to give it 3, but I'm gonna give it 2, which is
Okay.
still incredible.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, so we got 2 stars for using, and at the end we'll kind of do math and do an average and see where
Math
we're
it
at.
up, dude.
Oh man, this is we're doing it. We've been talking about this since April, and we're
Yeah.
finally at
Yeah, we out here.
it. All right, number 2, mastery of flavor and cooking techniques. So you kind of sent in rough and tumble, specific fighting style. Is it one-sided or evenly matched? And what I thought about was mastery of flavor and cooking techniques. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I did some research, and Gareth Evans spent 6 weeks designing the Final Fight Raid 2. And so what he did, it took 8 days to film, and it contains 195 shots. So this guy Gareth had time with his crew to create a beautiful fight that he put together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at like cooking techniques, they shot it on the Red Scarlet with the steering wheel kind of around it to give it that movement. And then
Mm-hmm.
also too, he said that they just 195 shots were used, which is crazy. And so for me, even with the 6 weeks and the not
Mm-hmm.
in the 8 days and the 195 shots, this is like, Nick, if I sent you out with that much time to
Mm-hmm.
design a fight and you gave me this, I would just fall on the floor and cry because it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing could be better in a
Right.
good way, good happy tears.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Like I would just be floored. So even with that amount of prep, they still overperformed what they had.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is an all timer for me. And so
Yeah.
yes, they had the time. Yes, they had the best athletes in the world, and they had 8 days. But it's still they use every bit of that to create a gorgeous brawl, and you never lose sight of it either.
No, no, and not just because the camera's right there and it's in your face. It does this thing. The 195 shots thing surprises me, and I say that because with a fight like this, it never feels like it's cut, 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 cut. It's in some films, every swing
Oh
is an
gosh.
edit and it cuts to something else. When this scene, every time they cut to a different shot, it's purposeful. They're emphasizing a particular swing. They're emphasizing a knife swing. They're emphasizing the head hitting the table. They're emphasizing a bottle smash. It's for emphasis or it's for an acknowledgement. And one of them is like when they kind of hit that midpoint area where they're pausing and he's got his knives ready to go and he's over there holding his leg and he's breathing heavy and they're just looking at each other. We're going back and forth and looking at their eyes and being like, get ready for round 2 because here we go. And then boom, off it goes. It lets it play out. And even as it plays, the camera might move while the action's happening, but we don't cut away. We don't get sick from looking at it because we're not getting whiplash. We're letting it play out in front of us naturally and emphasizing the moments when they need to be emphasized, especially the bonks into the cabinet, dishwasher, whatever that happens to be. It's just so well done and well executed.
Yeah, the cooking techniques are gorgeous. Just the way that they picked a lightweight camera to shoot on, the way that
Mm-hmm.
they utilize the movement of it, and the fact that it's 195 shots makes me like it more because I didn't feel it.
No,
And that
not at
means
all.
they everything was intentional.
Yes.
And for me, I love cinema that is very intentional, whether it be the smallest thing or the biggest thing. I love when they just there's an intention behind it, and you can feel that in any art, any of it. But when you
Yeah.
can feel it in this, like it's not just hey, here's a cool kick, or here is this, like and so for me, like the mastery of the filmmaking of Evans used a lot of previs on this. They prevised it, and then they filmed it in a gym the entire fight. So when they got in the kitchen, they knew exactly what the problems were going to be. They had already worked it out. Because if you think about it, if you bring an entire crew in and you're filming it and you're not there yet, you're going to spend a lot of money. You're going to waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
So they used all 8 days of this shoot for this fight to get everything they got. And yes, they had to problem shoot on set, but they took none of it for granted and they
Mhm.
previs the heck out of it to create the best fight possible. That never really totally feels. You never feel they don't seem like they know the punches are coming, which
Right.
I like. So
Mhm.
I think they really respected the audience and they gave them something good. And that's why I want to give it 3 stars.
Yeah. Oh, this absolutely gets 3 stars. And talking about having them practicing it in a gym and then bringing in, I wonder if because they practiced it in a gym like that, they don't use a lot of the props, not the props, but they don't use a lot of the appliances or some of the frying pans and stuff like that because it's not there to work with. And that makes me think that everything that happens in there, I'm not saying it's improvisational, but I'm willing to bet that, throwing a bin, hitting them with a bottle, that feels very in the moment and it feels genuine. And like you just said, it feels purposeful. It feels like there's a meaning to it. It's like we talked about in Manhunter. It's capable people being capable,
Yeah.
and there's no better feeling.
Oh man, what a fight. And I think it took some restraint. Because if I'm in a kitchen fight, someone's going to get hit with salami,
Mm-hmm.
someone's going to get hit with lettuce, there's going to be a frying pan, there's going to be a knife,
Yeah, there
refrigerator is
has
going
to
to be
be.
used.
Yep.
But this one, that would have taken us right out of the fight. This isn't that
Mm-hmm.
movie. This is
No,
not
not
that
at all.
movie. So if you're looking at mastery of flavor and cooking techniques, they were smart enough to not have the assassin get hit by some dill pickles.
Yeah, he's not gonna punch him a couple of times. He goes, you know what? This needs a little more flavor. How about some salt? And then throw salt in his eyes to blind him.
Yeah.
Right? They're not doing puns. I kind of wish they would.
That'd be amazing. Like Rama throws a pickle jar on the ground and then the assassin slips and then he lands on the
Yeah.
pickle juice and goes, ew.
Yeah, it's
He's
why
more
are these slimy? He's like they're bouncing along in his hands all weirdly.
and then Rama enters the final fight to kill the people and like you smell like pickles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Imagine that movie.
There's not he doesn't shove an apple in his mouth and somehow his body contorts in like a piggish type way to give the impression of like a luau or something like that. They're not doing that. It's not getting cartoonish. I'm immediately going for Looney Tunes type stuff. It's not getting cartoonish. And I think the word when you said restraint, I that's the perfect word for it. They're keeping it in line. They're stepping out when they need to, but it's just on point the whole time.
All right, I'm going to digress real quick, but in this movie, there's Hammer Girl
Mm-hmm.
and there's what the baseball bat guy,
Yeah,
like
Bat
who's
Boy.
Bat Boy. If you were one of them, like you fight
Mm-hmm.
with Julia Stell, and you are a notorious hitman. One of them has hammers, the other one has a bat. What weapon from a kitchen would you use?
Ooh.
Like
Honestly, because I think it'd be kind of fun, I would use a cheese grater.
like in Tenet, that's a great cheese grater
I
weapon.
guess, yeah. Yeah, he did.
We're
And
gonna
it's
have to
funny, I
cover that
just watched it
eventually.
like a month ago. I don't know how I didn't. But
Oh,
I mean, a cheese grater would be great because it's a cowbell-esque shape. You got a handle on it. So not only are you going to get some quality bonks, you might get a little sound out of it and turn it into a tune. It also part weapon because you could grate it against somebody's skin. They get distracted and you can continue to fight that way. So it's two prong, and I think it's got and the grater that we have, each side it's four-sided. Each side has a different like slicing
oh no,
so some of it might be grating, some of it might be like a slice or a dice kind of thing. Like this thing will hurt you.
I love it. I've watched Tangled, so I take a frying pan.
Okay, classic.
I mean, imagine getting hit by a frying pan,
I couldn't because when I think about
like
it,
a
I start
cast iron.
laughing. All I can ooh, all I can think of is if someone's getting hit with a pan is that plang sound, just that pang, and it makes me giggle. And if I get hit with that, I'm gonna be mad, but I'm also gonna giggle about it. And you can't giggle during a fight.
No.
That doesn't work.
What happened to Nick? Frying pan man got him.
Yeah, just knocked him out. He died of giggling. It was weird. He hit him and just giggled in a corner for an hour and then just passed out. I guess he couldn't breathe.
We missed a chance. We could have been Spoon Man, and you could be like, "He's coming."
Yeah. What is happening? Somebody tap dancing? Are we
Like
in
I'm,
a
I'm
theater right
contra
now?
dancing. You come around a corner. I'm like contra dancing,
Oh no.
and then I just, how'd he die? Spoon caught your heart out with the spoon.
He just takes a spoon and I get this dish needs a tablespoon of pain.
Just you have different spoons. Soup spoon. Now, also, I want to share our kitchen fight criteria because I didn't do that at first. I
Mhm.
think, Nick, we can't have a fight that starts in a living room and ends in a kitchen.
Right.
We need to have it's in a kitchen. It's the raid, Gremlins, Deep Blue Sea, sudden death. The fight is in the kitchen. It's not,
Yes.
you're not in a small apartment that leads from like the bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen. It needs
Right.
to be a kitchen fight.
Yes. Beginning to end. There's no transitions here.
Perfect. Spoon Man.
Stop punching me.
It took him 45 minutes to kill a guy. Is a ladle a spoon?
Yeah, it's just wood and not as shallow.
So you could use any type of, you know how many spoons that is?
That's a lot of spoons. Well, no, a ladle, that's more of a deeper thing. I'm thinking of like a stirring spoon or a mixing spoon that's wood and a little hollow. I mean, and you get
Spear.
spoons for all different seasons too. You know what I
Whoa.
mean?
You could make the end of one of those spoons like a spear. And so you could just use it and then, you know, so many options. I'm switching it to
Sharpen.
spoon.
You can sharpen it up, and you can even have it monogrammed. So the bottom towards the handle might have your initials on there. You warm it up, it's right on somebody's face. They're yours for the rest of their life.
Oh, yeah, that's great. But I would call myself spoon guy
Okay.
because everyone's like, they're spoon man, spoon guy. What? Spoon person.
Spoonster.
Spoon. Mad dog. Mad spoon dog.
Spoon dog.
Spoon
Spoon
dog. That'll
dog.
be my
There it
name.
is.
Spoon dog. Oh man, here comes Spoon Dog.
Better look out.
He's great. He's great when you need a beat.
Give me a beat, Spoon dog.
Like I'm great when you go into war, like the War Boys and Mad Max. He can fight and
Witness
play.
me, Spoon dog. Yeah, you're not playing a guitar. You're playing spoons into a mic, and the speakers are 40 feet wide. Flames are shooting out.
And everyone's with it too. Man, he's on fire today. No, he's literally on fire.
Somebody get him. I don't think we have fire extinguishers in this world.
We have sand. Dump him in the sand.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Someone stop real quick.
Jeez, wait.
I don't have it ready. I wasn't prepared for this.
I love Spoon. I love Spoon Dog. Spoon Dog is you don't mess with Spoon Dog.
No. And I'm going to be honest. If we ever find two other people and start a band, the name of the band is Spoon Dog.
Yeah,
Like,
it
it's
definitely
nothing
is.
else.
A lot of bass. A
Yeah.
lot of jamming.
That's the secret. Two basses, one guitar, not two guitars, one bass.
Yeah, there it is. And the drummer plays the drums with wooden spoons.
And they're not even toms, they're just different sized kick drums.
Listen to that drum solo with spoons.
Man, you got to hear their cover of Panama.
Like Tame and Paula would love us. That'd be great.
Not Panama, Hot for Teacher.
I mean, but Panama would be great too. Oh, gee, with the double bass.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Toxicity, we could play that.
Ooh.
But with spoons.
Even better.
I was trying to talk to my students today about Metallica, and they're like, the only metal song we know is Toxicity song. Fair enough.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
It's funny you say Metallica. You can't see it listening, but this poster right over here is from when I saw Metallica in Birmingham 5 years ago. And this time next month, I'll be seeing them 2 nights in Massachusetts.
I love Some Kind of Monster, and I love their documentary about it. And
It's
I
good,
think
right?
I think Saint Anger, too. That song is really healthy if you think about it. Like, I want my anger to be healthy. I want my anger for me. Like, you can find things to hold on to in that album.
Yeah. Set it free.
Just, Yeah, I was talking about that today because I'm teaching a nonfiction class. All right, personality of the fight scene. Hey, we did it. We had a really good one. I think our best rant though is when we created that weird movie during our Criterion episode about like
I,
the
yeah,
that one's
yeah,
great. Okay,
agreed.
personality of fight scene. We've already talked about if they feel out like so. This is the way the fight goes. They square off. They feel each other out,
Mhm.
and it's highly technical.
Yep.
And then they get into the glass the wine area, and it becomes a
Mhm.
street fight.
Yep.
And then the assassin pulls out two knives, and he's a jabroni. And he slices the back of Rama's knee. Rama gets one of the knife. But then it ends with they're both tired, and there's a little bit of a break where they just bleed on the ground and look at each other.
Yep.
And then it gets to like really close combat fighting. They both have a knife. It gets close quarters, and there's many slashes and stabs.
Yeah.
And then it's just gooey, bloody, and it runs from on my copy on Voodoo, it was from 213:33 to 219:45.
That's what
So
I got.
it is I mean, it tells a story. At first, it's technical, then it becomes a street brawl, and then
Mhm.
it becomes kind of an advantage for the assassin. Then the advantage is taken away. Then they both get sliced. It looks really bad, and then eventually Rama wins when it becomes just hacky slashy and very bloody, and our hero wins, and he kills the guy with his own weapons,
Yeah.
which is
And
pretty good.
visually, it's reflected too, just from the amount of blood. Well, remember when we first get in that kitchen, pristine. As
Yeah,
he's slicing up his arms before he slices his throat, spoilers, there's an overhead shot looking down at that floor. That floor is not white anymore. There are huge splotches of red everywhere. And that shows you, look, this place ain't clean anymore. These two have taken it as far as they can take it. I forgot how brutal this gets when they start slicing each other. I mean, I thought In a Violent Nature was brutal. I thought Pooh, Blood, and Honey was brutal. But this is brutal. Like, this is just copious amounts of blood.
the Indonesians do it
Copious.
right.
Yeah, they really do.
Gosh, and that karambit, the knife, like that thing. If someone pulls that out of me, I'm running.
I mean, yeah, yeah, you'd have to at that point.
What did Joe Pesci say in The Irishman, or who was it in The Irishman? When someone has a gun, you charge them. When someone has a knife, you run away. Terrible advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think the personality is great. Now, listen, it doesn't have the sudden death personality where
Mhm.
Jean Claude Van Damme is fighting a henchman wearing a penguin costume. It's not like Spy that's very cheeky and funny. I mean, the Gremlins one has a good personality because Miss Pelter, you think she's going to die, but then she just becomes a gladiator and slaughters three gremlins in her kitchen. And
As
there's a
you
really
do.
interesting personality. So this one's very serious, but I also think it tells a story. It
Mhm.
it it has a beginning, middle, and end, and it's gorgeous. So,
Yeah.
like, what would you say the personality? What would you give the personality of this fight scene?
I mean, you kind of just answered it for me. I got to give it a 3 because these restaurants that get these high ratings have kitchens filled with teams of people and chefs that are very technically proficient. They're very good at what they do. They're measuring things out just right. They're flavoring things just right. They're not overdoing anything or underdoing anything. They're getting it to a T, and they do it repeatedly. And this film does it repeatedly. And not only that, like you said, it tells a story, right? When you look at a menu and the courses are planned out, if you're paying attention, that also tells a story. In Ratatouille, it tells the story of someone's childhood. It harkens them back. This is also telling the story. Like you said, it goes from the small and the squaring up to a street fight to now we got knives involved and we're slashing left and right. It it just it just really really works. And yes, it is a little bit serious because sometimes you need that. We can have fun all the time, but every so often we got to be a little bit serious because then it makes the fun that much more fun.
Three. It's a three.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, what a gorgeous fight scene.
Right, dude?
All right, value for money. So this film has a $4.5 million budget. And so you wrote, given the film's budget and the time spent on filming, does this fight meet that level of expectation? So 4.5 million. And we already talked about that. It was 8 days, 195 shots.
Mhm.
We're talking about value for money here. There are $300 million movies that justifiably don't have this fight scene, right? This isn't just a fight scene. This isn't just the best kitchen fight scene. You look on lists, best fight scenes ever. There's Jackie Chan, right? There's Drunken Master.
Sure.
There's incredible brawls. I'm not saying this is the greatest of all time, but if you're looking at a list of maybe top 50 fights ever, this has to be on it. It can't. If it's not, you haven't watched it.
Yes. No, wholeheartedly agree. And honestly, I think 50 is a little low. This has got to be in the top 25.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way it's not. And yes, you know, like you talked about with like Jackie Chan and some of his fights and how that truly is poetry in motion. How he's able to take moves, push them back on you, how he's able to take some fight sequences and elevate it to a level of slapstick or comedy, and but also at the same time bring it back to a fight. These guys for $4.5 million, and you're pulling off something like this, in addition to a huge mud fight, a bathroom fight where people are getting bonks left and right, and the wildest car chase sequence you've ever seen in your life. For $4.5 million, get out of here.
Get out of town.
Get out of town. Find
Leave.
where the town is. Get.
Go to the town, then leave it.
Yeah. Don't even look back. Don't you even look back. When you pass that city population sign that says 17,312, don't you dare look back. You're not part of that 312 anymore.
And if you're not in one, like we said, go to it, go right into the middle.
Yeah, fine.
And then just turn around.
Main Street, look at the ice cream stand. Don't go in there.
No, don't dare.
And then go on and get
out. Get out of town.
Scooch. Skedaddle.
So how many stars we give in value for money?
Oh, 3. If
3,
I could give it 4, I would.
All right. So we're looking good here. We have 2, 3, 3, 3. So right now, if we did the math, it's going to be close. If we're rounding up, it's going to be, we're going to have ourselves a 4-star fight. I like that. Now, consistency of food. Now, is a fight too long or too short? Does the fight get into implausible territory? Does that take away from the fight? Does a fighter tire after, like, are they tired? Are they superhuman? I mean, the one thing, if we're talking about consistency of the food, is this fight, it never, ever, ever, and we've said this before, but it doesn't lose clarity. So, you know, the director said in a one-on-one, however, there's literally no escape. So getting right in the middle of it without losing clarity was imperative. And so, you know, they also, he's talking about his assistant director, Plinthonk. He said he commanded the respect of every fight performer. He trained with them every day. They spent time rehearsing sequences. He's like, he learned who was good enough to be front and center. I mean, everything, like, so the salat used in this is just gorgeous and brutal. And you know what I like too is he also said that, like, it's influenced by circumstances the characters find themselves. It's that live or die psychology that informs the choreography design. And also too, like, the fight never doesn't use a lot of CGI. Some CGI is used, but this is what they did. They found condoms. This is what Gareth Evans said. Buy lots of condoms, wash off the grease with soap and water, use a syringe to fill the condom with blood, tie a knot at the other open end. You need to tie it tightly so at least some air pressure is maintained inside the condom. Apply super glue to the condom to make some of the surface harder. Cut a square from the bandage tape. Pull the black fishing line through the small square of bandage tape. Leave at least 2 meters of line. Leave at least 2 meters of line in reserve. My bad. Glue the bandage tape with super glue to the very hard part of the condom where you previously dropped the glue. Tie the actor so that the applied bandage is opposite the future wound. Using the loose ends of the condom behind the knots, attach it to the bandage, glued with the square from the actor. Make an X-shaped cut in the clothing. Spread black fishing line through the cut, and then pull, and then blood comes out. And then he said, finally, at the moment when the squib explodes, someone behind the scenes needs to pull the fishing line. The condom will burst beautifully. Or pull the line tight and let the actor fall or turn so that the timing of the pop coincides with the actor's reaction to the shot. So he's like, this method also works with knife cuts. And then you need to attach a line to the handle of the knife you're swinging. That's what, like, they got so creative in here. And I think that was what adds to the consistency of it, because if it was too much CGI blood, we would be taken out of it. The consistency would not be good.
Oh, not at all. There's films now that if a character gets shot and we just see them laying on the ground and the camera pans out and blood starts to pool on their chest or wherever, as soon as I know it's CGI, I'm disappointed. I'm like, no, get it. This doesn't mean anything to me. But for them to go so, they're not even using squibs. They're creating their own out of condoms, and they probably went to a Walmart or whatever the Indonesian version of Walmart is, and it's probably still Walmart, and just bought up a whole bunch of stuff, and they just made it themselves. They made it themselves. And if that's not care, if that's not dedication, if that's not wanting the best for your product, then what are you really doing?
Yeah. And listen, they did it. Like, this is a gorgeous movie. Yeah. And they went out of their way to make a gorgeous film. Mm-hmm. And I just adore it. I think that it is. What a movie. I mean, I think I love the Raid more just because of the simplicity of it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I love the first John Wick. I had to rank every kill in the John Wick franchise. And I still love the first one because I just love the simplicity of it. But this one is gorgeous and it's incredible. And it's such a deep bench. And I love it. So how many stars we can give it? The consistency of food.
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I feel like we got to go with a 3. And again, it just comes to the quality of it and the care they put into it. And not only that, and this isn't something that we've really touched on, but the score. When the fight's first happening, the score is just kind of
we haven't
upbeat.
Talked about that.
The score, it's upbeat, and we're just kind of going with it. And I'm not saying it's stock, but it has a very standard feel to it. We're like, okay, we're just kind of hyping the fight. As soon as he pulls out the knives, the music completely changes, and all it does is elevate, and all it does is ramp. And as the score ramps, the tension ramps, and we don't know what direction it's going to go. He's got a knife. He's slashing until finally, boom, throat's ripped, music stops, and we're just left in that moment to catch our collective breath. So it's absolutely a 3.
Yeah, we didn't even bring up the score, which is gorgeous for this. So that gives us a total of, let's see, 14 out of 15. Divide that by 5. We have 2.8 stars, which will round up to 3.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So this
5
is
and above, give it a shove. You know what I'm saying?
So we're 3 stars. Our first fight is the highest you could award. Or and if you walked into a restaurant, you give them 1, 2, or 3. We gave it 3. But
yeah,
it earned it. This isn't a
absolutely
like this. And honestly, now that we gave it 3, I doubt many others could get 3.
Well, what's interesting about it is, yes, the criteria is the same, but how you go about meeting that criteria could be a little bit different. This is going to sound like a weird example, but look at Mario Kart. You could be in a cart, you could be in a motorcycle. It doesn't matter. You're still getting the first place, or you're still getting the same bananas as everybody else and taking out somebody else with them. Even though this is a technically proficient 3, somebody else might get a goofy slapstick 3.
That's a great point. And also, I did a poll and I had people vote, and you and I talked about this, but the winner of our poll was Sudden Death. It beat out Gremlins, Spy, and Monkey Man.
Okay. Oh, Monkey Man does have a good one. Yeah. Albeit short, but it's a good one.
But like Sudden Death, I think, is the right one to tackle next because it's Jean-Claude Van Damme fighting a Penguins mascot in a kitchen.
I mean, where do you go from there but up, right?
So overall, 3 stars. This is a great way to start the episode.
Fantastic. It sets the bar. It lets everybody know, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we're going to do. You know, buy a ticket, take the ride, or whatever they say.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, hey, before we get out of here, where can people find you?
People can find me over at rabbitholepodcasts.com. The big podcast I'm on right now is Play MST for Me. Jason Soto is a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan. Until we started the show, I kind of wasn't. I didn't know anything about it. We just finished the KTMA era, and we have just technically started season 1 of the show. So even though we're 23 episodes in, we're actually getting to the first episode of the series. And it's been a lot of fun so far. I've been having a lot of fun, and give it a listen because I think y'all will too.
I mean, listen, if you're on it, people should listen to it.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
This Mad Dog over here.
Woof, woof.
Well, hey, man, thank you so much for joining me.
No, thank you for having me as always.
This was awesome. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Nick Rehack, it's the Movie Sons of Flicks. We'll see you next week.